Now this hour, we've been taking a closer look at the arrest of Bryan Kohberger and his first court appearance today.
How you feeling?
How you feeling, Bryan?
Are you ready to go to Idaho?
Why did you do it? The last time in Pennsylvania, Bryan.
So for today's Talkback segment, we want to know what you think about Bryan Kohberger's arrest in the Idaho student killings case. All right, still with me, former defense attorney, former prosecutor Marie Pereira, as well as criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor David Bruno. All right, guys, our first comment comes from Lindsey Graham, and I don't think that's the senator from South Carolina. I'm just surprised that this one person can kill two people in each room, and there was no noise or screams or anything. I just don't get it, especially as it was a knife. And, you know, David, this is the question that still is out there. It seems, from everything we're hearing, we don't know this for sure, but I think they believe he acted alone, and I still, like Lindsey, find that a little hard to believe.
It's very hard to believe, especially given that there were other roommates in the home that heard nothing. This is going to be an interesting case as to how this all develops, as to what this connection is. What was that individual doing near this area? Was there any contact with the women of the house? But I agree with Lindsey Graham, and I agree that's not the senator, but Lindsey Graham makes a great point as to how in the world could no one else heard anything with the brutal killings that are alleged here.
Yeah, and again, with the emphasis on brutal, these were brutal killings. Our next comment comes from Sharon Ganwa. She says, criminology major thought he could commit the perfect crime. That's what she said, and she got 40 thumbs up from other Facebook fans. Marie, your thoughts? The idea that this was a criminology major studying the criminal mind, and basically he wanted to do this as a way to commit the perfect crime.
You know what? She may be right. I think he was hiding in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, hoping that the darkness would just follow him and people would never know that it was him. He was an unlikely suspect, good-looking, clean-cut, doctoral candidate. I was expecting an unkempt, crazed-looking, toothless vagrant with a big body build. Not him. So maybe the fact that he is specializing in criminal justice just made him feel so arrogant that he was thinking, I got away with this in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania.
There you go. I think I'd have to agree with you. Our next comment comes from Denise. Denise says she has a family member in Pennsylvania that assisted with his capture. She says the guy is saying that he didn't do it. And in fact, I've heard that as well, David, that they look forward to exonerating him. He now has an attorney in Utah who has told him to evoke the fifth, not to answer any more questions. I can't say I'm surprised by that. That's the right position to take. But your thoughts on that?
Yeah, Michael, there were so many assets that were used here with the federal government, the state government, the local police. And in this day and age, with DNA, as I first said in that first segment, as well as social media, as well as cell towers and electronic evidence, if he did not do this, then there should be evidence that the defense attorney could use to exonerate him. But if he did, it's going to be very, very difficult for him to explain all these other pieces of evidence that we can expect.
Absolutely. All right, our next comment comes from Melissa Buckingham. She says there has to be a tie to them somewhere. Even if it just he got turned down by a woman who lived in that home years ago. If there isn't, that makes this much more horrific given what happened to them. And again, Marie, I've got to go back to this idea that this was targeted somehow. She makes the interesting point that maybe it was the house, and police did sort of pull back on the idea that it could have been not only them that were targeted, but it could have been the house that was targeted. Your thoughts?
I agree, and I think although there doesn't have to be a motive proven, there is a motive here. Nothing like this is not without a motive. And I think as the case is developing and the investigation continues, the come up with some sort of motive connection to him and someone in that house. I don't believe this was a crime of opportunity or random crime or crime for sport. He was personally, emotionally to someone in that house.
Yeah, fair enough. I would have to agree again. Our last comment comes from Vanessa Branham. She says, this guy sounds really narcissistic. I won't be surprised if he decides to act as his own attorney. David, I don't see that happening in this case. Although he's highly intelligent, he is narcissistic, could happen.
Yeah, he who represents himself as a fool for a client. We saw it in the Darrell Brooks case. If he was watching that, hopefully he learned from that, get counsel, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you know, he's bright. We don't know, but maybe smart enough to know he shouldn't represent himself. All right, thanks to Marie Pereira and David Bruno for being with us. Coming up next, we review the 3 things.